What if the most powerful story in history reached its breaking point? What if the calm that carried you through miracles suddenly turned into a storm of betrayal, fear, and sacrifice? That is exactly where the journey arrives now, Season 6, a chapter unlike anything you've ever seen before. For years, audiences have walked step by step with the disciples, sharing their doubts, their victories, and their awe at miracles that turned fishermen and sinners into leaders of a movement. From the first moment Jesus whispered, "Follow me," the story has unfolded with depth, honesty, and emotion. But now that story edges toward its most dramatic turn. This is not just another season. This is the bridge between light and shadow, between Galilee's miracles and Gethsemane's agony. The road narrows, the enemies close in, and every disciple must ask, "Do I truly believe?" Season 6 carries weight because it isn't only about events. It is about humanity at its limit. It is about fear, betrayal, sacrifice, and love pressed to the breaking point. It is where joy turns into anguish, where loyalty falters, and where the world begins to turn upside down. Yet in the darkness, there is a light that refuses to fade. A story bigger than boundaries. This story has always been more than a show. It has crossed cultural lines, defied expectations, and drawn both believers and skeptics into the same space. What sets it apart is its humanity. These aren't distant icons. They are people who stumble, wrestle, and bleed like us. Season 6 pushes this even further, capturing the cost of following a teacher whose path leads not to glory, but to the cross. This is the season of conflict and consequence. Religious leaders can no longer tolerate his message. Rome grows uneasy, its grip on peace slipping. Crowds that once cried Hosanna will begin to turn in suspicion. And among his closest friends, one will make a decision that changes everything. But it isn't only about betrayal or fear. It is also about courage, mercy, and the unshakable love of a teacher who knows his hour has come. This is the clash between human ambition and divine purpose, the test of faith when the cost is too high, and the proof that love shines brightest when night is at its darkest. The four themes that define Season 61. Escalating conflict. Every season has carried tension, but here, it ignites. The Pharisees and Sadducees see Jesus as more than a preacher. They see him as a dangerous disruptor. His healing on the Sabbath, his authority over the law, his radical vision, these are unforgivable. The Romans, meanwhile, sense rebellion in the air. Pilate watches calculating. Whispers in dark chambers and nervous glances in crowded streets make clear the storm isn't coming, it has arrived. Betrayal and power. No theme strikes harder than betrayal. Judas is not a flat villain here. His story is layered with pain, pride, and tragic blindness. Why betray the man who performed miracles? Was it greed, disappointment, or the belief that he could push Jesus into action? His slow unraveling forces us to ask, could I fall in the same way? Yet betrayal goes beyond Judas. Caiaphas clings to control, Pilate to order, and even Peter wrestles with visions of power. Each character's choices reveal how easily ambition twists truth. Faith under trial. In earlier seasons, faith meant leaving fishing nets. Here it means facing death. Some disciples want to fight, others want to flee. Peter, fiery but fragile, struggles with fear even as he swears loyalty. Mary Magdalene clings in silence, steady in her devotion. Their struggles mirror our own, because faith feels easy in peace, but becomes real only when tested in fire. Love in the face of darkness. Above it all stands Jesus. He heals even as enemies plot. He teaches even as betrayal grows near. He embraces even as the cross casts its shadow. His love doesn't shine in comfort, but in sacrifice. When others condemn, he forgives. When others exclude, he welcomes. When others demand power, he kneels. Love, unbroken and unyielding, becomes the heartbeat of Season 6. Characters at the crossroads, Jesus, the calm in the storm. This season reveals him not only as divine, but deeply human. He laughs, weeps, and carries the weight of what is to come. His serenity in the face of fear contrasts with the panic of his disciples and the hatred of his enemies. His choice to embrace the storm, not run from it, defines what true surrender looks like. Judas Iscariot, the tragic descent. From sharp-minded and resourceful to broken and bitter, Judas's arc is one of the most devastating. His yearning for power and change, his impatience with Jesus's refusal to seize control, and his small compromises build into the ultimate betrayal. Viewers are invited to feel the tension of his choices and recognize the same dangerous seeds within themselves. Peter. Loyalty versus fear. Bold yet fragile. Peter embodies passion at war with weakness. His fiery vow to protect Jesus crashes against his human fear. His struggle reminds us that love and failure can coexist, and that even devotion doesn't shield us from faltering. Mary Magdalene, steadfast witness. While others stumble, she remains unwavering. Her faith doesn't erase fear, but she chooses to stay. She becomes the quiet anchor, teaching that faith is not about understanding everything but refusing to walk away. The disciples as a circle. Each one reacts differently. John the quiet observer, James burdened by responsibility, Thomas anxious, Nathanael doubtful. Together they reflect every human response to crisis, making the group feel alive, flawed, and relatable. Caiaphas and Pilate. Power and fear. Caiaphas sees Jesus as a threat to both faith and fragile peace, blind to the truth standing before him. Pilate, foreshadowed here, represents empire itself, cold, calculating, and merciless. Their roles show how both religion and politics collide against a kingdom not of this world. Episode by episode, the tightening spiral episodes, 1 to 2, shadows rising. Familiar rhythms, Jesus heals. Teaches and crowds rejoice, yet cracks appear. Caiaphas whispers plans in shadowed halls. Judas begins to question. The joy feels fragile, like thunder building behind the horizon. Episodes 3-4. Conspiracy in the dark Jerusalem becomes the stage for secret councils and tense debates. The Sanhedrin argues over how to contain Jesus. Fear of Rome hangs heavy. Meanwhile, Judas listens closely, storing away words, edging closer to a choice he cannot undo. Episode 5. The Final Miracles. Acts of mercy continue, but now each miracle feels like a spark before the fire. The raising of Lazarus or the healing of the blind forces leaders into fury. Irony cuts deep. The greater the light, the more relentless the opposition. Episode 6. The betrayal forms. Whispers harden into action. Judas is courted, tempted, pressed. His hesitation fades step by step. In contrast, Jesus warns the disciples, the Son of Man will be betrayed. They protest, but the audience knows the path is already set. Episode 7. The Shadow of the Cross. Anticipation tightens. Jesus speaks more openly of death. Peter vows he will never leave him. Mary clings silently to his words. The city prepares for Passover under the weight of dread. Judas slips into the night, his resolve hardening. Episode 8. Gethsemane. The Garden. The prayer. The betrayal. Jesus kneels, trembling, pleading, yet submitting. The disciples fail, unable to stay awake. Judas arrives with soldiers. His kiss seals the fate of the teacher he once followed. Torches flare. Chains tighten. The disciples scatter. Jesus is led away. The season ends not in triumph, but in silence, forcing us to feel the depth of loss before hope can rise again. Why this season matters. Season 6 does not end with resurrection. It ends in darkness because that is how history unfolded. The disciples didn't know what was next. They only felt loss. And by sitting in that silence, viewers are invited to feel the cost of love, the weight of betrayal, and the reality of faith under fire. It is not comfortable. It is not wrapped in easy answers. But it is honest, and in that honesty lies its power. It forces us to ask, when the world turns against you, when faith costs you something, will you remain? Season 7 will carry the story to the cross and the tomb. But for now, we remain in the garden, torches fading, the night heavy, the silence unbroken. This is the storm before the dawn, and in walking through it, we are reminded that even in the darkest night, love does not break.